Any input from the public?
Going to be short and brief. You spoke the other day, or actually it was in the paper, that you were concerned about your constitutional rights. There was a big article in the Journal Inquirer about it. That's one of the issues that Bill Russo, myself, and Mr. Tom Malonis have been trying to get along across to you for quite a while. One of the issues that I brought to your attention, and I tried to bring it to your attention, you tried to shut me down, is that the other couple meetings ago when Officer Garofalo and Detective Sergeant Cherniak spoke, is that you allowed them to go beyond the time limit that you held on me. And it's not what they were saying that I had any objection to, because everybody's entitled to their opinions as to what they say. Whether I agree with it or not, it's their opinion. They have a freedom of right to speak. But the fact of the matter is that I watched you hit the reset button on your stopwatch and you allowed them to go overboard on the time limit that you held on me. And you discriminated against me because of it. And because of that, I've gone and I'm in the process of getting the tape, and there's going to be an FOI complaint against you for not allowing me the same right that you allowed others. And it has nothing to do with the two gentlemen that spoke. The other thing is that I sent you a request to be on the agenda. A perfectly legitimate reason. I expressed reasons why I wanted to be there. And part of those reasons, you hurt these officers that are in uniforms. And you hurt other town agencies, because one of the reasons that I wanted to be spoken, or wanted to be on the agenda, was to talk about an issue pertaining to in the line of duty deaths. I wanted to, and I talked previously about it, about getting a policy, an insurance policy, that would provide their families some type, and the town of Windsor Locks, some type of an insurance policy that would pay for the cost of having some type of a arrangement in order to put them in the ground for their final resting place, and something to give their families in order to abide them or tide them over until their insurance policy is kicked over. You turn around and you talk about your constitutional rights in the newspaper, but yet you violate everybody else's. The other issue is that I know I saw you at the meeting the other day about full-time magic, and I know that you heard me speak, and most of you probably think that I'm crazy because I said that I supported it. The thing is I didn't get to tell you why I supported it, and the thing is that it wasn't that I support the issue. I have nieces. I wouldn't want my nieces up there dancing. I wouldn't want my sisters up there dancing. Some of these women, and a lot of you guys have seen women in this town that have danced, and that is just part of the business. But the thing is if you kept yourself up to par, you know, just prior, the week prior to April 15th, there was a new law that was passed. It's called the Nuisance Abatement Act. And if you had kept yourself up to par about what the act was all about, or the new law was all about, you could have used that law to enforce a place like that if there was violations, to shut them down permanently. So when you talk about your constitutional rights, think about others, because you violated our rights by not allowing us to speak on the agenda when we ask to go on to the agenda. You turn around and there are so many issues that we've brought to you, trying to get to you, that will help this town, but you just don't want to hear it because of who we are. And the thing is that the audio tape that I have talked to you about, one of the police commissioners has already heard it. And he's apologized to me for being a part of my termination. And the thing is that I am making that tape available to anybody that wants to hear it now. I'm sick of sitting in the darkness. I'm sick of being everybody scrutinizing me for supposedly being the crazy one that's caused a lockdown at the Windsor Locks Police Department. Well, guess what? The one that caused the lockdown at the Windsor Locks Police Department is working there right now, and she's on the audio tape causing that lockdown. But you, the commissioners, refuse to hear it. So because you refuse to hear it, I'm going to start letting the people outside the town outside this department, outside this commission, hear what actually happened. And we're going to let them know that we have a police commission here that refuses to take responsibility for what happened, and they refuse to legitimately investigate an incident where a chief of police and a corrupt couple, and I said to the chief, the new chief, my job right now is to discredit Dawn Marini, because Dawn Marini is a bad cop. She...
Okay, you're done. You're over your time limit. Thank you, Mr. President.
Okay. She perjured herself, and that's it.
Any other public input?
William Russo.
No.
Oh, go ahead, let this gentleman go.
Go ahead, sir.
Me? Is this a good time?
You just have to give your name and address for the record.
George Flint, my wife Peggy, 94 Center Street. We'd like to discuss the speed cushions that were installed recently, that were in the minutes of your last two meetings. And I see that it was suggested to move the concession stand twice, and that was voted down. That is too close to the road, and I guess that's not gonna happen. But we hear 24/7, ba-boom, boom, ba-boom, boom, and when it gets dark, it's worse. And when you turn around the corner and come down our street where our houses are all well kept, yellow sawhorses, orange and white barrels, it looks terrible. Now, I know they're temporary, but they're temporary 7 months. And I think there could have been much more innovative ways to do it and cheaper than doing that. If you care to hear them, I'll tell you, or I'll tell you later if I'm not over my time limit.
Go ahead, sir. You can.
It was
Well, you
conflict.
could put a stop sign as, is Mr. Brace here?
That's me, sir.
He suggested a stop sign. He said the people on Ridgewood were very happy now because it slowed the traffic down coming up Center Street Hill. Well, God almighty, you should have had a stop sign there a long time ago because they can't see coming up. And a stop sign with flashing lights, game in progress, stop. The same thing up on my end at 94. You know, the town spent a lot of money on a gigantic tarp years ago to cover that whole fence, so the people would have to sit in the grandstand, away from that 3-foot wide sidewalk where they can get killed. Because they're here now, they don't watch their kids, they don't watch their dogs, the ump is always stopping the game to get their hands out of the fence. Now, nobody knows where that tarp is, but the men on the public works knows where it is. That could be done, but especially stop signs with flashing lights. The speed bumps, we watch, we're with it 24/7, we have to listen to it. If they work 60% of the time, you're lucky. The other 40%, boom. And the people on Ridgewood, that new street, are probably the worst offenders. So I don't know if I can get you to move those speed cushions, I shouldn't say bumps, and put in something sensible, big flashing lights, because I have an article from the Springfield Republican Sunday of last June. I won't read it to you, but if you want to see it, I'll show you. In essence, it says, the head of the Public Works Department, it's a dangerous situation to ever install speed bumps on a public street. It only creates more liability for the 10, 20, 30% of the speeders that go right over them. And with all those people standing by that sidewalk, by that fence where they don't belong, those speed bumps aren't going to help a bit for the crazy fool that's happening. You know? So if there's any chance of getting those moved or out of there, and nice big flashing lights with stop sign that should be on the corner of Ridgewood and Center for the hill people, please look into it.
Okay, we will, sir.
Thank you.
Any other public comment? Mr. Russo?
William Russo, 407 Elmwood Drive, Windsor Locks. You're in receipt of my email requesting that I be notified by mail of future special police commission meetings. Regarding that, I'd like to know how you developed the cost of 611 to send me the agenda. You know, I could maybe understand 50 cents for a stamp. I don't know where another 50 cents comes for an envelope. Can you tell me how you develop those costs?
I'll address that at the end. Is there any other?
Okay, I just have another question. When you developed the cost, did you consult with Mr. Hennick from the FOI, or did you read the FOI rules before you established those costs? And is your cost the same as any other town board and commission? I hope you'll address all of those at the end. Thank you. Oh, I have one other question. I'd like to know how the revision of the 1969 rules and regulations is going.
Okay, thank you. Any other public input? Look for an approval of the minutes of the May 30th special meeting.
Make a motion, we approve them as written.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. There's no correspondence. Chief's report?
Okay, Commissioners, if you look in your packet, a few things I have in there. One is the hiring update. 3 certified officers have been hired and are currently in the field training program. They are officers Keith Loveland, Ashley Taylor, and James Espesi. We anticipate that they'll be in training for approximately 4 weeks and then released for full patrol duty. It will depend on how they're doing and how comfortable we are releasing them and vice versa. They're all certified officers that have already been through a full FTO program prior to coming here.
How many weeks have transpired already?
2 weeks for Keith Loveland and Ashley Taylor. James is his first week now. All reports right now have been very positive. Any questions on the 3 hires? Okay, also we've advertised for additional certified officers to fill the remaining vacancies and the 2 new positions created in the 13-14 budget. Tentatively, we will be conducting another written examination in early August and begin a new hiring process. Currently, we received actually over 18 applications as of today from certified officers requesting to be considered. I think it's a very positive sign for the department and will enable us to hire some quality officers.
Say 18?
18 so far. So.
Why are they all coming to Windsor Locks? We used to have a hard time finding one qualified officer. Now they're flooding to Windsor Locks. Is
Well, I
our
think
pay
it's a
scale
combination
so up there?
of things. I think with the last contract, pay scale did come more in line. We were quite a bit below at that point. I think some of the changes that are going on are being heard throughout the state. And also, we just run through cycles. Certain departments have retirements coming here. And so people coming out of 20 years in another department, or somebody in a smaller department who's hearing different things about some companies. So we have a nice mix of younger and older officers. So.
Well, not to be facetious, but did you hear some nice things about our police commission too?
I have
Oh,
Must be an oversight.
Yeah.
thank you. I was very pleased that I have never seen that many people. I've been around.
Yeah, it is quite a bit. Yeah.
You're doing a good job, Chief.
After tonight's anticipated promotions, we'll be left with the final sergeant vacancies. Promotions have been staggered so far that we can maintain a proper ratio of supervisors and patrol officers. I anticipate forwarding the final 2 sergeant positions to the commission no later than next month's police commission meeting. I believe that's the 14th of August, so hopefully no later than that. I'd just like to also bring up some of the past. We've recently promoted some people. Detective Sergeant Paul Cherniak and Sergeant Elaine Poulis are doing a fantastic job. I'd like to just make a comment after the public comments were made that Sergeant Cherniak and Detective Dawn Malini have been doing an excellent job. A lot of progress is occurring in the detective bureau. And everything that I've seen is very professional service to the community. So I want to make sure the officers understand that. And they have the support of the commission and the support of me. So I think that's important. On June 19th, two of our officers were honored at the MAD, Mothers Against Drunk Driving, awards dinner for their aggressive enforcement against DUI violations. Officer Sean Berry and Robert Lang were both honored by the state at a ceremony in Brantford, and they've really done an outstanding job being proactive in the area of DUI enforcement. There's a lot of work involved in a DUI arrest, and to be proactive and go out and hunt those kinds of violations is something to be commended for. So together, they almost did 50 DUI arrests alone last year. So you got to understand, an average DUI is probably about 4 hours of your paperwork. So
I think they should know that the commission appreciates that.
yep, and we'll let them know, and we'll also be putting something in their file.
We'd be proud of that.
Also, Chief, do we have any awards program?
We don't yet, but that's definitely something we're going to be looking
Yeah, I
for in
was
the near
quite
future.
concerned. I saw one of the officers they had a medal citation, and I was impressed with it, number one.
Mhm.
And secondly, I said, gee, when was that passed? And maybe I wasn't here when it passed, but I would be very much
Right,
interested.
so it's definitely something that needs to be addressed.
Yeah.
We talked about it in the past.
Pardon me?
We talked about it in the past.
Yeah, we did talk about it, didn't I? I
It's
said
up and
that.
going.
Right. I agree.
Yeah, we established something years ago,
Yeah.
but it hasn't been implemented as far as I can see. But it's there, it's out
Yeah,
there.
it's
I mean,
definitely-
you may want to revise it, but it's out there.
Not on the list, I'd just like to bring up the last meeting, you approved the patches. 2 meetings ago, they're in. We're just wearing one now. We're starting to transition into the department. As, with the new budget year, we're getting new uniforms, so you'll start seeing that patch. I also put out the badges, I put them around, take a look at those, please. That's also a small committee in the department, so we'll look at different badge designs, came up with a traditional badge design, different than what we currently have, which is kind of a generic constable or a state type badge. And the badges were in need of replacement for the board commission. So,
Make sure you get them all back.
I know.
You better not put him in front of me. It's just weird. Yeah, I have something to say on that too. Okay, Chief?
Sure.
As all of you know, some of you know, I belong to I collect police memorabilia. And we get a international newspaper, every other month. And lo and behold, I see Windsor Locks reveals new patch. And the whole article about the patch that you people have design, plus a picture of the old patch and the new patch up here. We've become internationally known. I'm telling you. Besides some of the girl activities on 75, this is a good one. Give it to the chief, and I think it should be on your bulletin board. And the only thing wrong, they got my name spelled wrong. But it's a nice article. It shows our patches, and it's a good idea. I'm very proud to see it.
That's interesting, because I received 2 letters over the month from people looking for patches.
Yeah,
One
yeah.
was from Germany and one was from Spain, so I'm wondering if this is, I was wondering why.
Don't you, Chief?
And just, I think you all know that this patch was designed by the officers in the
Yeah, I
department
understand,
prior to my arrival,
Yeah.
and I think it's a fantastic job.
It is, that's why they should, the applause should be for these officers who worked on that and other projects they're working on.
I guess I would just like to get a official blessing on the badge.
Yeah, we need a motion to add that under new business, 8 Bravo.
So moved.
There a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All set, yeah, okay. The code of conduct,
Okay, in your package, you'll find a copy of the proposed code of conduct. It's been in the works probably about good 3 months at least. It's really the same one you had before, plus a few minor additions that were discussed at the, I think it was 2 meetings ago.
I still have some questions.
You do? Okay. All right.
If we could turn to page 3, section 2.05. Knowingly or intentionally using official position to obtain any special benefit or favor. This is much like, I think it's 2.03. And the offense code was G. And I'm just wondering why the first offense is not an F instead of it's an E, and then we're jumping to G. Does it seem logical to go from the first offense on that one to be an E?
It just depends on the severity of what the use is. You can use either one. Again, those are maximums,
Right.
you know, so it doesn't mean,
So the
because
first
it's
is
there, you could go with an oral reprimand, you know, so that's, it's a maximum
But
penalty.
I think we're trying to send a message that we're not, based on the other ones.
Mhm.
By 203, soliciting or accepting any favor, privilege, or other thing of value as a condition of performing official duties. A maximum all across the board, first offense, second offense, and third offense is termination.
I see what you're saying, yeah.
And as far as recommending any professionals, I just don't understand the logic why we're starting with an E on that.
It probably was an oversight, but, you know, we could change it, that's fine. I mean, I understand what you're saying, it sort of contradicts.
Exactly. On page 6,
so they change
change that to an F.
Then we can just approve of the changes.
Right.
F. On page 6 it is. I'm looking at section 5.20. It says fair to properly patrol assigned district or beat. That term properly patrol, in my mind, is a little vague. I don't understand what an officer's supposed to make of that. What does properly patrol mean? Is there a definition for that?
Not within the order here, but to have a violation, you would have to substantiate that in the investigation. So
What tripped it?
it depends what the accusation or the
Well, that's what I'm talking about.
complaint.
It seems
You
vague.
You can't have a specific one for each possible.
Here's the problem with that, Chief, is that that's vague, and yet the offense violation parameters are set, C, E, and G. So someone's mind, when they wrote this down, determined that a patrol violation, whatever that is the first offense is a 5-day, up to 5 days. Second offense. So in my mind, when they wrote that, they had to have some idea of the severity of the offense. They had to have some sense in mind to pick a 5-day suspension. So what does proper patrol mean? Follow the logic?
I follow your logic, yeah.
Okay.
I just don't, you can't put a specific violation for every possible violation that is out there, so you have to have some flexibility. Now, to utilize something like that, you have to justify what the charge would be if it was to be brought up, or it wouldn't hold any scrutiny. So, I think whatever you would use that for, and there probably is many more specific charges that, actual violation would go to that.
Well, most of these are all very specific. It's like the next one, 5.22. Failure to answer a radio call within a reasonable period of time. That reasonable period of time, it seems arbitrary. Who decides what the reasonable period of time is? And when you go to a third offense on that, you talk about a termination
Up to
a
depending on the
termination.
circumstances.
Yeah, and that seems pretty hard for, having for radio in 10 minutes.
You're not going to terminate somebody for 10 minutes, it's going to. So, you can't put a 2, 3, or 4 minute.
By the third offense, but somebody ought to understand what the reasonable period of time is.
There's a checks and balances in this that, I understand where you're coming from, but it's kind of a.
I think you have to leave
Well, okay.
judgment here.
I mean, this is devised as a model policy from the International Chiefs of Police Association, so that's the real background behind it. Not just arbitrary, because, by any.
All right. I just know if it's going to be in trouble down the road, with respect to getting those things. We ever just do court of law. But at any rate, the last page, or we went over this the last time, it seems to be similar to my objections the last time on page 8. Talking about Article 9, Department of Discipline Procedures. And I think this is, my mind's a little upside down. That 9.01, notice to be given. It says all disciplinary shall be proceeded by. I think we need to add a written notice to employee concerning the conduct. It doesn't specify. It does in other places in this, but right from the get-go, we're talking about to give notice. I think it should be a written notice. Don't leave it open to, notify to it. It should be written.
I agree with that.
Employees entitled to that?
Yeah. Any kind of internal investigation or
Exactly.
requirement.
Now, that second sentence, under notice to be given, if the employee misconduct results in dismissal, an employee shall be given an effective date of this. That really doesn't have anything to do with notice in my mind. I think it's more appropriate when we go down to 9.03. Let me try to explain this. Because the other thing that fits into that, I think that would go better with 9.3 is when you drop down to employee rights under 10.00.04. We talked about this the last time. It says, this is supposed to be employee rights. It says, be required to answer all reasonable questions of them. That's not a right, that's a requirement. See that sentence?
It is, but it's also a protection for employees. So
Well,
that comes out of
I think if you put it up under
union.
put it up under written notice, after operative period of offense, under 9.03, and then move that to be required to answer under the written notice section, it flows a whole lot better. And then add that last sentence in 09 behind that. I know you can't, you're probably having a hard time seeing this on the spot. But you read these things one after another, that does not smack of being an employee right, to be required to do anything. Have a right, last sentence, have a right to be reasonably delayed, that's a right. I think this be required stuff needs to be up there under the written notice.
I would probably suggest that we should probably table it if you want to get it up
Yep.
there. Look at it.
I got this late last night. This is the same exact language I spoke of the last time. This didn't change. The other question I have is under 9.02, the oral notice. And this deals with and disciplinary proceedings which may result in a written reprimand or a documented oral reprimand A notice may be given to the employee at the outset of the proceeding at which the action is to be taken. A reasonable delay will be granted to allow the employee time to prepare the defense. The employee shall request. Again, I have trouble with reasonable delay, because we specified it on our employee rights below. It talks about other higher level of discipline. They got 3 days, so it's a specified period. I don't know what a reasonable delay means, and I don't know if it be in writing a code of conduct and using this kind of language. But it can open us up for something down the road. We get into a contest over, well, I didn't give me enough time, the disciplinary article says, it's reasonable to me, not reasonable to you. I don't think we want to go down that road. If we can specify a date, a number of days in the employee rights section, I don't know if we need to. That's all I have.
I would say,
Okay.
Anything else?
We just need a motion to table.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
So moved.
I'd like to make a comment. Going back when I was a policeman, George Flynn too was a policeman, I broke him in, by the way.
Don't talk about yesterday, they don't wanna know.
I won't tell the stories, but if we had this, this code of conduct, there would be no policemen in Windsor Locks. You'd have violated everything going, right, George? Oh, man, they would have cleaned this up. I don't know about the guys, when the sergeant's laughing there, maybe they cleaned them out too, but boy, some of them are real good. No comments, we all deputy sheriffs. No comments.
Okay, moving on to new business. We had a no parking sign request on Elm Terrace. And that request came from Ms. Polly Storms through the selectman's office.
the request was no parking on that street. And I don't know if you're familiar with Elm Terrace, but it's almost an alleyway kind of road, very short, 3 houses on Elm Terrace. There's really no room for any kind of emergency vehicle to go down there if there's parking, especially on the turnoff of the street. Would be my recommendation that would be no parking from Elm Street to the first driveway on both the east and west sides. The residents can get in and out off the main road, and also to allow emergency vehicles entrance maybe from that area.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries. Okay, and then under new business 8B, look for a motion to approve the new badge design as presented tonight by the chief.
I make a motion, we approve of the new badge design submitted by the chief and men. The
Yes.
chief and men of the department. I happen to like that shape, another department has that shape around there, I think, but they look very sharp, I saw them there. It's a good idea, yes.
You have a second, please.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Okay, number 9, executive session to interview candidates for promotions. There's a motion to go into executive session inviting the chief and candidates.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so moved.
Look at the air conditioner.
I just turned it on.
Sure.
Congratulations, appreciate that.
Officer Galfalo, come on up.
Mr. Chairman, it's my privilege and pleasure to nominate and ask for approval for Sergeant Garofalo to be a Patrolman Garofalo to be a sergeant in the Windsor Locks Police Department effective immediately.
And I'm very pleased to promote this good Italian boy to sergeant. And second your motion.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, motion passes. Congratulations.
Right about now.
Congratulations, Sergeant.
Now I know why you wouldn't call me last time.
And as most of you know, that with all the promotions we've been having, the new hires, we're going to be doing an official ceremony, a little bit more involved, so all the families can come and for all the recent promotions and then also our new hires. So.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank everybody for coming today.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Dan. Appreciate it. What's that? Oh. You don't get any more. It's the new lines.
Hey, is there any public input, agenda items only? Mr. Bracken?
I have two questions under, or actually comments under your code of conduct. The first one is that I'm wondering whether or not the Board of Police Commissioners is going to establish any type of program where if an officer has an issue with the chief of police, and I'm not saying this chief of police because I don't think that they'll ever have an issue with him, but in the future, that if there's ever an issue such as in the past, chief, where there was a question of an officer accusing an administrator of corruption, that an outside agency be called in with an initial or actually an investigation to be conducted from an outside agency. The second question is that under the code of conduct, I understand, I heard talk of disciplinary procedures, and part of that disciplinary procedures was the Laudermill hearing. And I don't know about anybody else here that's ever been through a Laudermill hearing, but I was railroaded in my Laudermill hearing, and the way that it was conducted, I was not allowed to have any type of device to either record. I wanted to bring a stenographer. Ex-Chief Suchocki refused to allow me a stenographer. And I think that that's an unfair advantage to the town because that man and Attorney Deneen for the town of Windsor Locks did things to me in that meeting that should have never happened and should have never been said. And I think that I should have had the opportunity to either electronically or by means of a stenographer, had the rights to maintain that document or the course of that meeting for later litigation. And I think that those are two things that should be part of that board of conduct or the code of conduct changes within it. That's all.
Hey, is there anybody else? Mr. Russo?
I'd just like to know if you're going to offer the public an opportunity to review the code of conduct before the commission adopts it. I think it'd be a good idea that you allow the public an opportunity to review it. And the other thing, Eddie, this is for you. 18 officers are in line to come to Windsor Locks because of the work schedule, 4 days on, 2 days on, the salary, the benefits, and the fact that this is community-oriented policing, and allegedly we have high crime, and they all want to sign up to come here and protect Windsor Locks. Thank you.
Any other comments from the public? Okay. Any comments from the
He's
commission?
going to ask if he's going to answer your questions.
Oh, he said he would, so.
Some of you might know in the commission that I'm a member of CONA. And as CONA, I get out to the senior citizens, center. I'm concerned about them, and I try to help out the best I can. I was on here the past couple of months ago, and a lady came up to me and said, Mr. Lanati, she sat down next to me, and I said, yeah, I know her by the first name, you know. I said, yes, so. She says, are you a member of the Police Commission? I said, yes, I am. She said, I want to tell you what happened to me. I said, okay. She said, one night I got up around 2:30 in the morning, and I don't know, my heart was fluttering. I didn't feel good. I didn't know what to do. She said, and I got panicky. Who could I get? She says, so I called 911, and the police cruiser must have been dispatched because less than 3 minutes later, a policeman showed up. She said, oh, I was so happy to see that policeman there. I felt good about it. I felt good that a policeman was coming into my house, that someone could take care of me, make calls. I said, yeah, what's what happened? She said, well, we talked a little bit, and I calmed down a little bit. You know, it was nothing serious. We both agreed that, my blood pressure, my heart, everything felt good. We had a glass of water together, and she said, I was so happy to have that policeman there so quickly and so reassuringly that he was there. She said, I want you to tell the chief how pleased I am of the services. I said, well, we're always there to help you. And she said, oh, one thing else, Ed. And I said, oh, what's that? She says, would you send that same policeman back again in case I get sick? I said, well, I can't guarantee it. I said, they're all trained. Any particular reason? She says, yes. He was quite a hunk. I said, so, Chief, let's get the quite a hunks down there because these old ladies love them. I have enough more to say.
Anybody else?
No.
Okay. Just to address a few of Mr. Bracken's concerns, his support of the pool table magic, that really has to go before planning and zoning. At this point, that's their decision. As far as everything else, you have litigation in, so I will not comment. And as far as the code of conduct goes, address Mr. Russo's concerns. I will talk to the chief about when the document is final, putting it up on the website for the public to see. Any other business to come before the commission?
You talked about my code of conduct, but you never said anything, sir.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Did you just adjourn the meeting without responding to my question, Mr. Brace? Like you said you were going to?